All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Episode 2, Satisfactory. Let's play with me, the Slappy one. So, guys, episode 1 is actually rendering as we speak. Now, in between the episodes, I got a bunch of iron smelted up. I got a bunch of copper smelted up. I did the next hub upgrade, which gives us biomass burner number 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and turn it off because I have both turned off right now. I'm not using the smelters. No need to waste fuel. I'm going to just take this and let's see, 226 in there. I'm just going to go ahead and throw all that in there. Come on, jump up. There we go. Now, I don't have the recipe for biomass yet. That comes in a later upgrade, but we have been able to go ahead and set up for hub upgrade number 6. Now, that's going to involve quite a bit of work. I'm out of iron ingots. I've converted them all to plates and rods. I have tons of copper ingots, so I'm not really worried there. In terms of what I need to create, I'm going to have plenty of copper wire and all of those things. But when it comes to the rest, we do have some work to do. Now, I do have the ability to do conveyor belts, and I'm going to do a little bit of easement on the smelting here in just a moment. I am going to go ahead and just get up some copper wires spooled up. Yes, all pun intended there. Just that way we're ready to go. Now, when it comes to smelters, we're going to run up here and you do this as a demo. What we're going to do today is we're going to be getting the basic production systems going. Now, what do I mean by basic production? We're going to switch over to miners, into smelters, into constructors. Now, I got plenty for the miners. In fact, we'll do this. I'm going to pick up this miner. And when you pick it up, you get all the ingots. I'm going to pick up that miner, as well as that one, and even that one, because I don't need them anymore on these iron. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go into our queue creation menu, and I'm going to make our first miner Mark 1. Now I'm going to position this one right there. And there's a reason I'm positioning it like it for now. I will come back and adjust positionings later as the base production changes. I have them positioned in certain ways that is really just for my own edification and needs right now. We're going to remove one of our smelters. And I'm going to put one pole there. And I'm going to connect all 3 poles there as I have a slight FPS drop for some reason. I'm going to put a smelter here. And then I'm going to put a smelter there. Now notice the arrows. There's the orange ones going in. That is your input feed. And that is critical to ensuring that your automations are lined up correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and power everything up. I'm going to attach that to that pole. So now this entire circuit is on power. Now, before I go into the automation side and setting all of this up, I want to go ahead and cover the power network with you guys. For you new Satisfactory players, this is your lifeline. Let me say that again. Power is your life. If you don't have power, you don't have production, and you're not making stuff. And that's really the name of the game. So no power, no game. So how does it work? Well, let's cover the basics of electricity. Electricity flows freely through a couple of connecting points in this game. You have electricity power creators, such as these biomass burners. You also have other biomass burners that you'll be able to make. You will be able to eventually make higher tiered power generators, such as coal, fuel, and eventually nuclear, that make power as well. You have power users, such as your miners, your smelters, anything that consumes power, I call a power user. And with that, the way the electricity in this game works, you have you into there. That's exactly why the second pole is here, is for something like this. You have power generators that power does not go into them. it generates it and the power leaves, which means it flows only one way. So power flows into this. Now, once it gets into the grid, which is on this pole, it flows into every other connection made to this. So every single wire has power flowing through it. The entire grid is one single power increase. Now that's per grid. So let's say I go over here and I put a bunch of biomass burners and I hook them up to a pole and I put a couple things. That becomes its own power grid. And that's necessary sometimes, especially when you do outpost-based building, which is what we're probably going to do. But that's that. So every single power grid has its own power input and then consumption from its power users. So for now, these two biomass generators push in their power wattage, which we'll go take a look at it. Each is producing 20 megawatts of power, which you see right over here on the side. So we have a total of 40 that goes into the grid that can be consumed by all the power users. Now, if you use over 40, which is easily doable, even early game, you'll break a fuse you won't be able to run. And that's normal. You are consuming more than what is available. Now, the way to tell is you can go to any power item and you can see a couple of different things. You see consumption, which is what's being consumed. You have a capacity line, which tells you what is the maximum capacity of that particular grid, meaning the maximum amount of input of all of your power generators, your production of what is being produced at that moment in terms of power coming in. So power and capacity typically will be together. And you have max consumption, which is the maximum amount that that grid consumes. So everything on here, if every single one of these machines is working 100% of the time, that smelter, that smelter, that smelter, that one, and these three miners, it consumes 31 megawatts of power, which means we know we're running 40. So I can turn on both biomass generators and I can run everything. Now, into production. How do I get materials from this miner to this guy? Well, it's simple. You go into logistics, conveyor belts. Ta-da! Look at that, it auto-designs itself. And you have an input-output. Now, this is going to be necessary with these conveyor belts down the road. You're going to be doing a lot of advanced calculations using conveyor belts, splitters, mergers, and all kinds of crazy things later. But for now, it's simple. Each conveyor belt moves 60 resources per minute. So 1 per second. So tick, 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 things like that. Our miners are on normal nodes, which means that they are going to produce 60 resources per minute. So it is a 1-to-1 ratio of output to belt. Pretty simple, right? Okay, yeah, pretty simple. 1-to-1, all right? 1-to-1, 1-to-1, 30 per minute. Which means this does not produce at the same speed as what our miners are producing. So really, we should have 2 of these, but we don't have a way to split the load yet. That'll come down the road. But that's how you do your calculations. Your input side is on your left, your output side is on your right. This takes 30 iron ore per minute, 1 every 2 seconds, and it produces the iron ingot in the same amount of time, 1 every 2 seconds out. And that's what we want. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and load you up. And I'm going to turn, well, you'll be ready to go. You are set to iron ingots. I'm going to go ahead and put some in you, but you are going to do this. Now, where you have, if you look in the bottom, we have hotkeys to start certain things quickly. I always have a belt somewhere on my hotbar. I prefer number 3 for myself, but you can do that however you want. Again, you play the game your style. So we'll set to iron ingots. We'll throw 100 in there, and that way it's ready to go. Now, I don't need to be loading these guys fully, so I'm going to use this power switch, and I'm going to turn off all 3 of my miners for now. I don't need them running. It's an unnecessary power consume for the moment, so no sense in running them, but we are setting up for the next phase. Notice I had to move 1 smelter to make 3 because I now have 3 miners. That is how your base evolves. As needs change, as you get new resources, new buildings, you go from there. So now, I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and I'm going to turn that on. Notice the lines on the grid change. Going back to the discussion with power, we have our max consumption, which is this blue line. This is the maximum we can do with anything. We have our capacity gray line going up. We have our production. So this is actually consumption, production are the two ideal lines at the moment. What's being consumed power-wise, what's taking power, and what's going into our actual production. So right now it's 100%. Eventually there's other things that need power that probably won't go to production. That is okay, but that's how you interpret that graph. So all in all, we're looking great. Our capacity is above what we need at the moment for consumption as well as production, which means we are doing work and we have room to expand. Always, 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 when it comes to your power grid, leave plenty of room to work. If you do not, you are going to have power failures and you are going to have headaches solving your power grid. That is why I'm going to try to get to coal as quickly as I can. That's the next tier power source, because coal, when you get coal set up right, and I'm just running around collecting leaves while we talk about this, when you get coal set up right, it's going to make your life a lot easier. It almost near automates itself, except, you know, once you get the system built right. That's the trouble, is getting it built right. But it requires a lot of resources and it requires a lot of work. So we have a long way to go. Give me more barrel nuts. But that's okay. We know there's going to be a lot of work involved, a lot of planning, a lot of resources, a lot of iterations of everything. I mean, heck, we haven't even built we have not actually built biomass burners. We've only been given them through hub upgrades. So there still is a lot of work to do. We have a limestone node here. This is a normal one. I'm not really going to mess too much with it for now. I do have these two charging dudes. I'm going to try to take one down. Just got to be a little agile. Stopped him. 4 Xeno Zaps will always take down the chargers. That's a pretty much given. So, but they're gone. We have their carapaces. We'll use those for the MAM later. I am going to go ahead and take this pure limestone rock off the top, though, because, I mean, we'll convert it. And all of that lovely stuff. So, that'll be a very good thing to do. Now that we've covered the ever complex and annoying power grid, and I say annoying because it's going to give you headaches down the road. If you play Satisfactory and don't have a headache with your power grid and planning your power...
Charging battery.
There's the ASMR from Corsair again. As it did in the last video. I think it's going to be a video normal. Charging battery. Well, anyway, we are ready to go. We have a lot more biomass, leaves and all of that. Eventually we'll be able to take down the trees, but we don't have the ability to do so yet, and that's okay. That's okay. We're going to fully leave that full. And I'm going to take my leaves, that, and that. Now that wood that's there, I'm saving that for a reason. You can use the wood, by the way, in your biomass burners, but you want to actually save that early. Trust me. That will help you out quite a bit down the road. Now, I'm not going to let my smelters go without work, so I'm going to keep my iron ingots for now. And these are done. So I'm going to go ahead and recover all of my iron ingots. And that way we can go on to the next, because there's things that we need to do. We need to start getting production. Now, we're already getting some production with our smelters, and that's okay. That's okay. Some production is good, but now we need more. That's the name of the game. We need more production. So the next thing on the list is, after a smelter, you go into a constructor. Constructors automate making parts. Rods, plates, screws, which we'll cover those here in a minute. Wire spools, all of that. Constructors are good. It does not make, however, concrete. Actually, no, it makes concrete. Excuse me. It makes your first tier... Or excuse me, it makes your tier 1 parts. Now, we got plenty of cabling, but we need 2 reinforced iron plates. So in order to make that, you need 12 screws, 6 iron plates. We're going to go ahead and make to where we have, I don't know, probably 40, 50 or so plates, just so we have plenty to work with for now with all of these nice little iron ingots, and we have plenty of reinforced plates that we can do. All right, we're good. Now, in order to make these, you need regular plates because they're reinforced, and you need screws. 12 screws into 1 plate. You make 4, so 3 sets. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. We'll make 4 for now. These take a little bit longer, and that's okay. I mean, it's a complex part. We're starting to combine our tier 1 basic little pieces into bigger, better things. Now, I'm going to run up here for the sake of the next piece because we're going to actually put our constructors down here in this little valley for now. I'm going to put 1 right there, and I'm going to put 1 right there. And in between them, I'm going to have a power pole. And I believe this guy has a spare connection spot, so I'm going to put that there. I'm actually going to deconstruct that because I did not mean to. And from a distance, you can go ahead and attach your power poles. So now, get more of those. We have power going to what we need. So I'm going to put rods there, and I'm going to put plates there. Now, we're going to try to do this. Now, the one thing in this game that I personally cannot stand is when stuff clips through. Clipping, by definition, is when it goes through an object, but it still works. That is an example of what clipping would look like. It's going through the rock, but it actually should not. I personally cannot stand it. I think it's abhorrent. Personally. So we're going to put it right there. Nothing is clipping through. And then I'm going to rotate that around to look like that. And then right into that. And that's going to make it, there's a little bit of clipping, but it's not near as bad. That tree is going to go away eventually anyway. Now, as you can see, I have filled it up. The iron ingots are going to roll right out. Now, they run into here 30 per minute. So when it comes to making iron plates, it's 1-to-1. Because if you remember from earlier, 30 per minute out, your output. And when you go to plates, it's a 30 per minute input. So by logic, guess what? 1-to-1. At least in terms of smelter into the constructor. And then in typical 3-to-2 fashion from last video, ingots to plates. Now this will generate all the plates for us. And we don't have to do that work anymore. That's the beauty of the automation and production side of things. Now, yes, constructors consume power like any other automated machine here. But we have plenty of power generation happening. We're not using an over amount with our smelters or our miners. And I'm actually out of iron plates. I made just enough for this. So this is perfect that this machine is running because this will essentially create the conveyor belts that will go from that smelter right there into this constructor. And this constructor is going to make rods, which means we're going to have plates and rods on our construction circuit. Finally, we will have automation to go. Well, not full automation, should I say. We'll climb the ladder up here so we can just take a look. But we're going to be good. Now, this third one doesn't have a home to go to. That's okay. I need to make 2 more reinforced plates, and I'm going to put a constructor probably right around here in this same area-ish. And that's also going to make iron rods, because the one that makes rods, that one, is actually going to get put into another constructor, which will then make screws. Because if you look at the recipe, it can make screws. You just need rods to put into it, much like we made screws with rods over here in the craft bench. So I'm going to handle that off camera and show you guys. Actually, no, I won't do that off camera. We're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm gonna make a couple more reinforced plates because I believe, actually, hang on, just gonna go ahead and hand make a few more because I've got all the ingots here. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I should have plenty of, I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and just feed you with plates or ingots. I'm gonna take plates from you, and I'm gonna go ahead and pump you full as well so I can get rods going. Slide under this. By the way, you slide with C. All right. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and make one, two. All right, we're gonna go ahead and make 2 more sets of iron plates. Again, remember it is 2 per constructor, so we want to do that. So now we are gonna make constructor. I'm gonna quickly slide jump up here. Now, actually, I want to do this. I want to put that right in between. And then FPS drop. Bring the wire to that, to that, to that, and to that. This will make rods as well. Now it's getting on nighttime. You can press your B, like boy button, and you can turn on a flashlight, and that gives you light to work with. So in true fashion, I don't like clipping. So I'm gonna bring that over there. I can't afford the plates, that's okay. We will do that. I'm actually going to change up this music real quick because I just realized that the music player I have is playing the wrong category. There we go. So we now have all 3 constructors lined up. Hey, bird. Hey, bird. The bird is friendly. It will not attack like the other things on this planet. Now, grab a little bit more of the plants because we're gonna need them. And then this one is into rods. We're just gonna put that there. I'll go ahead and pull those, and then we're gonna put the second constructor right there. Notice the line that was between basically means that it's a straight line in between everything. And then I'm going to change up some of the power. Notice I removed that one power line going over there, and then I adjusted the circuit. So it still is getting power. It just means the lines look a little bit different. And that is totally normal. You're going to, as you go through the game, especially you newer Satisfactory players, you're going to realize very quickly that you're going to be doing a lot of readjusting and rearranging as you go through. So once we get to like foundations and things that kind of help keep a little bit more of that inline satisfaction and not look like a spaghetti ball, we're going to start using those to help kind of make it look a little more clean. And then eventually we're going to upgrade power poles, and eventually we add this and we add walls and colors and more construction type units and increased production. So everything is always, the best term of Satisfactory is that it's evolving. It's always evolving. Now I'm going to take my smelter that I had over here, and I'm going to set myself up for one more constructor. And I want to do one more constructor because we need to do something for... Actually, no, I need 2 more constructors. Oh, wait, I only have so many plates. Yikes. Well, what we'll go ahead and do is, I don't believe I'm going to have enough in the grid. So let me take a look at the grid real quick. Now you can see here, my max consumption is 43, which means that it is above what I need to do, which means I got to expand my power and we got to do things. But I gotta, we gotta basically finagle things around, manual gather, operate certain lines at certain times. But we're going to go ahead and get our production going to where we need to go. Now I'm going to have plenty for the wire. I've already got enough concrete. I just have to go pick it up. So I'm going to go do that off camera, guys. But that is step number 2 for everything we have going on. I hope my explanation of the power grid works for you guys, or makes sense. When we get back, we're going to continue to evolve the base, finish the hub upgrades, and go from there. If you like the video, make sure that you hit that subscription button. Keep that notification bell on for when new videos go live. Check out the stream, twitch.tv/theslappyone, and I will see you guys next time around. Stay slappy, my friend.